Namaste. So let's go on to the next verse, describing the real form of the self in Suṣupti. In this state, a father is no father, a mother no mother, the worlds no worlds, the gods no gods, the Vedas no Vedas. In this state, a thief is no thief, a killer of a noble brāhmaṇa no killer, a chaṇḍāla no chaṇḍāla, a pukasa no pukasa, a monk no monk, a hermit no hermit. This form of his is untouched by good work and untouched by evil work, for he is then beyond all the woes of his heart. Intellect. Śaṅkarācārya's commentary. It has been said that the self-effulgent Atman, which is being described, is free from ignorance, desire, and work, for it is unattached, while they are adventitious. Here an objection is raised. The Shruti has said that although the self is pure intelligence, it does not know anything in the state of profound sleep on account of its attaining unity, as in the case of a couple in each other's embrace. The Shruti has thereby practically said that, like desire, work, etc., the self-effulgence of the Atman is not its nature, since it is not perceived in the state of profound sleep. This objection is refuted by a reference to the illustration of the couple in each other's embrace, and it is asserted that the self-effulgence is certainly present in profound sleep, but it is not perceived on account of unity. It is not adventitious like desire, work, etc. Having mentioned this incidentally, the text takes up the topic under discussion. That is, the form of the self that is directly perceived in the state of profound sleep is free from ignorance, desire, and work. So it is a statement of fact to describe this form as beyond all relations. Since in the state of profound sleep, the self has a form that is beyond desires, free from evils and fearfulness. Therefore, in this state, a father is no father. His fatherhood towards the son, as being the begetter, is due to an action from which he is dissociated in this state. Therefore, the father, notwithstanding the fact of his being such, is no father because he is entirely free from the action that relates him to the son. Similarly, we understand by implication that the son also ceases to be a son to his father, for the relation of both is based on an action, and he is beyond it then, since it has been said, free from evils, in verse 21. This is deep, huh? I love it. So, in deep sleep, Suṣupti, there are no relations. There are no relations because there are no ignorance, desire, and work. And these three things have been mentioned earlier as the form of death, because it is through ignorance that we take up desire, and through desire, work, and work creates karma, and karma necessitates the formation of new bodies, one after another, in the chain of samsara. So, in deep sleep, one is free from all these things. Now, one could say, well, I don't remember being in deep sleep. Well, of course, there's nothing to remember. But this state is accessible to our ordinary waking consciousness, Jagrat, well, a transformation of it anyway, through deep meditation. The Buddha describes 8 jhanas. The first 4 are the ordinary jhanas, and the second 4 are the transcendent jhanas. So we're not really interested in the 4 mundane jhanas because they're basically psychological. But we're very interested in the transcendent jhanas because these are basically a window into the real state or the real form of the self. What are the four transcendent jhanas? Infinite space, infinite consciousness, nothingness, and neither perception nor non-perception. We've been over this a bunch of times before on this channel. I don't know if the present audience was around back then when we were going deep into the Buddha's teaching. But basically, these four jhanas open up a space that the Upanishads would call Suṣupti. Suṣupti consciousness is where there are no objects. There is still awareness, but it's awareness of nothing. Therefore, no perceptions are generated, and without perceptions, there are no samskaras. Without samskaras, there is no memory. So when we emerge from Suṣupti and go through dreams and so forth, and then come out into waking consciousness, there are no memories connected with Suṣupti. Yet, this is the real form of the self. So, how do we realize Suṣupti? First of all, infinite space. Consider a space that is so vast and unlimited that the entire creation, because the creation is material, it's limited. It doesn't matter how big it is. It has to have an end. It has a beginning, so it has to have an end. And imagine the space so big, so unlimited, really unlimited, infinite, that this whole creation simply shrinks to a tiny dot way off in the corner someplace and disappears. That's unlimited space. So by meditating on this space, eventually one's consciousness fills the entire space. Because after all, any one part of this space is indistinguishable from any other. It's all the same. There's nothing to know, nothing to see, nothing to experience. So one's consciousness can just expand unlimitedly in this space, making the material world simply infinitely small. So in this kind of a space, one then comes to the awareness of nothingness. There's nothing here. Even the biggest thing there is, the material universe, is just lost in it. Can't even find it. It's gone. So, in this space, one comes to the state of neither perception nor non-perception. It is impossible to discern whether one is perceptic or not, because there's nothing to perceive. This is Suṣupti, perfect description of Suṣupti. And for the same reason, when we come out of Suṣupti, we can't remember it, because no impressions are formed. No memories exist. This is why in the Devi Kalottara Tantra, Lord Shiva says that the highest spiritual practice is meditation on emptiness, shunyata, nothingness, space. Because in that state, there is nothing but the self. There are no external objects. So by meditating in this way, one comes to a moment where one realizes there's nothing here but me. This is huge. This is really, really huge. This is the realization that aham brahmasmi, I am the self. I am Brahman. I am the cause of everything. I am everything. I am one with the whole. There is nothing else but me. So in this state, one can understand. See, this is why we need deep sleep. Sleep researchers have found that if a person is woken up, say by a loud sound or electric shock, when they reach the state of deep sleep, if they're, in other words, deprived of deep sleep for any length of time, just a few days, they start to go crazy. Why? We need the rest. We need a break. Maintaining this material mind and body, and especially the maintenance of the ego and the individual identity, is so exhausting. It's so painful that we need to get a rest from it every single night. Otherwise, we lose it. We could go nuts. Of course, the same is true of dreaming sleep, Svapna consciousness. But that's a different discussion. In deep sleep, one is free from duality, free from ignorance, free from birth and death, free from fear, and so many other things, that are all products of duality. So when we can rest in unity, Ramana Maharshi used to say, we are sleeping in the lap of Brahman. But when we approach this state with awareness in meditation, then we're not asleep in the lap of Brahman. We are Brahman. Or we realize that we are Brahman. Now, this is not to be glibly imitated in words and to say, oh yeah, every night when I go to sleep, I become Brahman. Come on. That's Neo-Advaita. What we're saying is, this is a guideline, this is a principle, this is a direction for actually realizing the nature of the self, the true form of the real self. Not through any kind of mental gymnastics or verbal tricks, but actually, really, in fact, realizing that I am Brahman. So this is very important, pivotally important, because this is the gateway then to Turiya. See, in Turiya is consciousness, but it's a special kind of consciousness. It's a consciousness that is only conscious of other states of consciousness. So whenever we are, let's say, in waking consciousness, Jagrat, the consciousness of that consciousness is Turiya, and similarly with Svapna and Suṣupti. But in most cases, we don't realize it as a separate state because it is the substrate. It is that upon which we project these dualistic states. It's like the movie screen. I've made this analogy several times, but it's worth going over again. We go in the movie theater, and originally the screen is blank. Then the lights go down, the projector comes on. The projector is like the mind. And it projects these different illusions on the screen. And they appear to move and speak and do all kinds of things. Yet, we actually know that the film is composed of many, many still pictures projected one after another in a very fast sequence. And so the mind, again, stitches these together into an apparently continuous action. So as the film rolls, as it were, which consists of many, many individual instances of perception through the various senses, the mind stitches them into the illusion or the appearance of a continuous flow of action and existence. And so we think, oh yeah, the world is real. But it's not, because at the end of the film, the projector turns off, the lights come up, and there's the screen. Just like it was in the beginning, has not been affected at all. Even there might have been a nuclear explosion in the movie, the screen is still there. In the same way, Turiya consciousness is not at all affected by the changes in the other states. It is simply the watcher, the witness, the unconditioned awareness, the stateless seeing of the other states of consciousness. Those can change. They're temporary. But Turiya never changes. So you see, this is the key. This is the gate. This is the door into the complete self-realization. This awareness of being free from death, because one does not engage in Suṣupti in either ignorance or desire or work. Therefore, one is not a father, a son, a husband, a wife, or this or that or the other thing, good, bad, or indifferent. One is nothing, just the watcher. Did you ever see that wonderful Peter Sellers movie, Being There? Being There is about this. It's about this guy who is born or who is raised up in a rich man's house, sort of as a foundling or an adoptee, but he's never formally adopted. He just lives there. And basically, he does nothing. He simply watches TV.
Inches of snow that fell over the whole weekend, and the blizzard is called
Good morning, Louise.
the worst in that city's history.
Dead yet? The old man's dead.
I see. It shows, because posture reading.
Well, Mr. Chance, I have no alternative but to inform you that this house is now closed. If indeed you have resided here, you have no legal right to remain. You'll have to move out by, let's say, noon tomorrow.
I don't understand move out.
This is terrible, sir. I hope you're not badly injured.
We'll take him to a hospital. You know, why don't you come to our house and we could take care of you there? My husband's been very ill. The doctor and the nurses are staying with us.
Are you planning on making any sort of claim against the Rams?
You need a secretary?
He is different, isn't he?
Perhaps. I can't read.
Mr. President, I want you to meet my very dear friend, Mr. Chauncey Gardner.
Mr. Garner, do you agree with Ben, or do you think we can stimulate growth through temporary incentives?
Thank you for joining us on such short notice and filling in for the Vice President.
You seem to be a truly peaceful.
Thank you, Ben.
To quote Mr. Gardner, as long as the roots of industry remain firmly planted in the national soil, the economic prospects are undoubtedly sunny.
And he has all these adventures culminating in like being nominated to be the president. It's a wonderful movie. You should watch it if you get the chance. Being There by Peter Sellers. And it's all about this, being the witness, being uninvolved. So we should cultivate this awareness, this innocence, this primal blank slate of Suṣupti as a gateway to Turiya, which is the transcendental Brahman. This is the key. This is what he's trying to get at here. In short, This form of his is untouched by good work, rites enjoined by the scriptures, as well as by evil work, the omission to perform such rites, and the doing of forbidden acts. The word untouched is in the neuter gender as it qualifies form, the fearless form of the preceding paragraph. What is the reason of its being untouched by them? The reason is being stated, for he, the self of a nature described above, is then beyond all the woes or desires. It is these desires for wished-for things that in their absence are converted into woes. A man who has either failed to attain those things or lost them keeps thinking of their good qualities and suffers. Hence, woe, attachment, and desire are synonyms. The clause therefore means, because in the state of profound sleep he transcends all desires, for it has been said, he craves no desires, in verse 21, and beyond desires. Coming in the wake of those terms, the word woe ought to mean desires. Desires, again, are the root of action. It will be stated later on, what it desires, it resolves, and what it resolves, it works out, in 445. Therefore, since he transcends all desires, it has been well said, it is untouched by good work, etc. Of his heart. The heart is the lotus-shaped lump of flesh, but being the seat of the internal organ, intellect, it refers to that by a metonymy, as when we speak of cries from the chairs, meaning persons occupying them. The woes of his heart, or intellect, for they abide there, since it has been said, desire, resolve, etc., are but the mind, in 153. It will also be said later on, the desires that dwell in his heart, 447. This and the other statement about the woes of his heart repudiate the error that they dwell in the self, for it has been said that being no more related to the heart in the state of profound sleep, the self transcends the forms of death. Therefore, it is quite appropriate to say that being no more related to the heart, it transcends the relation to desires abiding in the heart. So this is in answer to the objection that actually the desires and the suffering therefrom reside in the self. No, they don't reside in the self. They can't, because the self is detached from the heart. The heart is also known as antakarana in the Vedic literatures, and it means the mundane consciousness, the mind, intelligence, ego, etc., all of the mundane or material functions of the mind, which appear to be seated in the heart. But when one is in Suṣupti, one is detached from the heart, and therefore has no contact with these sources of woe. Woe means suffering. It's not woe like, whoa, Nelly, trying to stop a horse. It's woe as in suffering. And, he makes another reference here to a metonymy. That's an interesting word. Let's look it up. Metonymy, noun. A figure of speech in which one word or phrase is substituted for another with which it is closely associated, as in the use of Washington for the United States government, or of the sword for military power. In rhetoric, change of name, a trope or figure of speech that consists in substituting the name of one thing for that of another, to which the former bears a known and close relation. 3. A trope in which one word is put for another that suggests it. So these figures of speech occur all the time. Who knows, who knew that they're called metonymy? There's all kinds of wonderful words like that. That's why I love having a big vocabulary. It allows you to say exactly what you mean. But, the problem is other people won't understand. Anyway, So we say the heart, when what we actually mean is the antakarana, the inner organ in which the mind, intelligence, ego, and so forth are found. Because all these things are connected with death, ignorance, desire, and work. These things are what produce what we call samsara, or the endless chain of birth and death in the material world. So, in other words, the way to transcend samsara is to cultivate this awareness of Suṣupti, nothingness, emptiness, shunyata, because it leads directly to the highest state of turiya, and turiya is the pinnacle of self-realization. In closing, let me read you one verse from the Mandukya Upanishad, verse 7. Turiya is not that which is conscious of the internal, subjective world, nor that which is conscious of the external, objective world, nor that which is conscious of both, nor that which is a mass of all sentiency, nor that which is simple consciousness, nor that which is insentient. It is unseen by any sense organ, not related to anything, incomprehensible by the mind, uninferable, unthinkable, indescribable, essentially of the nature of consciousness constituting the self alone, negation of all phenomena, the peaceful, all bliss, and the non-dual. This is what is known as the fourth, turiya. This is the Atman, and it has to be realized. Of course, this is also Nibbana, Nirvana, the kingdom of heaven, and Fardis, and so many other words in various traditions, the Tao, and so on. The ultimate state, which is beyond everything, transcendental, and the highest to which any human being can aspire. Aum Tat Sat. Aum Shakti Aum. Aum Namah Shivaya.